All right, now let's take a look at the questions part 2 and 3 of IELTS, see what those questions are like. They usually give you a card with some questions on it. Questions would be something like this. These are some examples, some samples. Describe a piece of equipment you often use at home or at work. You should say what it is, what you do with it, or how to use it, how long you've had it, how important it is to you. So basically, you would take notes, and then you have about a minute or two to take notes, and then you'll have to respond. And as you take notes, you should remember you have 4 questions here, so you need to answer all the 4 questions, respectively and in order. So, what was the equipment you had in mind? Which is home or work?
Home?
Yeah. Or at work makes no difference, because the question was at home or at work.
Like laptop?
Okay, yeah, so laptop, what do you do with it? Of course, I surf the internet, maybe.
Yes.
And I'll, of course, go online, do my, what? Do you do your school assignments? Maybe you do your school assignments with it or whatever. So you need to have those, the notes clearly written for yourself, like laptop, do assignments, online transactions, for example, things like that. The things that you want to remember, the things that you do with your laptop. How long have you had it? 3 years, 2 years, 1 year. Whatever, how important it is to you, this is more analytical. We can say it's very important to me. Why? It just helps me, this and that. So I first want to go through the list, and then we'll go through them together. So some hints maybe about some of them. What are the impacts of electrical equipment in humans' life in the past 10 years? What do you think of the impacts of electrical equipment in humans' life in the past 10 years? What are the differences between, between the life in the past and at present? So what are the differences of between our modern life and also life in the past? What role, this is discussion, does technological, so because right after that, when they ask you question 2, they give you a card, then they follow up with some other questions, which would be part 3, okay? So part 1 was asking a simple, familiar question, like what do you do, what's your job, or where do you come from, or describe your... Then they would give you a card with 3 questions, and then 3 or 4 questions on it, and then they will ask you some more analytical questions, like what are the impact of electrical equipment in a human's life? What are the differences between today's life and the life before, in the past? What role does technological development play in people's life, or people's lives? The role of technology. How will technology develop in the future? Do you have a mobile phone? What are its advantages? So why do many foreign countries develop faster than China? Well, this is not a question because it's highly specific. Why does China's West develop faster? This is, again, if you say, for example, I'm from China, they might ask you this question. What are the advantages and disadvantages of computer and internet? Yeah. They might ask you about advantages and disadvantages of something else. So technology is something to usually ask questions about, and we usually answer, we need to have in mind technology has made life, has made a lot of things, life easier in certain aspects of it, maybe, has made communications are, we can say faster, has made communications faster, more efficient. And of course, well, we can say there are many advantages, there are also disadvantages. Now, in the topic technology, for example, we talk about all these things. The advantages and disadvantages of technology. What has technology done? Of course, it has a negative side as well. It has, some people would argue that technology has distanced people from each other. It goes on and on. So, describing people, 3 items. Describe a well-known person. You should say who he is, she's a well-known person. What makes him or her famous, and why you admire him or her. So, did you have a special person in mind? A famous person whom you admire?
Anyone?
It could be, yeah, because you should describe a well-known person. Somebody who's famous and well-known. And also you should admire him because you should explain why you admire. Okay? Who did you think of?
Obama.
Obama. Yeah, that's okay. Obama. Who is he as the President of the United States? What makes him so famous? Then you can say, okay, he's the President of the United States. And of course, he's famous for the fact that he's the first African-American President of the United States. And then why would you admire him? Why do you admire him? Then you should talk about that. Maybe the ability to get to that stage, to reach presidency in the U.S. as an African-American, coming from a humble background. His parents were not very wealthy. He does not come from a wealthy background, but he studied hard, he tried hard, and now he's the President of the United States, and what we call the American dream. And then there's discussion. So they would ask, usually when they give you 3 questions on in the second part of the test, they follow up those with some more analytical, deeper questions, such as, do you want to become famous? How to become a well-known person? Why in China? So what kind of people can, this is most probably some Chinese person has done this. What are the advantages and disadvantages of being famous? What do you think of the privacy of a well-known person? What happens to privacy? Because well-known people lose their privacy. They don't have any privacy. So everywhere they go, everything they do, they're always being observed by a lot of people. So what do you think about the privacy of a well-known person? What do you think of the relationship between a well-known person and advertising? Of course, if you want to make somebody famous, you should advertise that person, you should promote that person using a lot of advertising, TV commercials, so on and so forth. Would you be influenced by the well-known persons in TV commercials? Would you be influenced by the well-known persons in TV commercials? Do you think TV commercials? Do you often talk about singers with your friends? What do you often talk about? So here we're talking about celebrities. Oh, we're talking about, celebrities, those famous people like singers and actors and all that. So we're talking about those guys. We're talking about lack of privacy. Let's see, they have no privacy, but the other, so some people would say, no, I don't want to be famous because I don't want to lose my privacy. I want to live a normal life. That thing we call paparazzi. Paparazzi. So paparazzi chasing you left, right, and center. So anywhere you go, they aim their cameras at you, or they describe a friend in your school time you like most. Of course, this is also a popular and very, let's say, usual IELTS question or TOEFL question. So it's like, describe a friend in your school time that you like most. And then you should say who he or she is, when you guys became friends, why you like him or her, why do you think that he or she is important to you, and how has he influenced you? So the point is whether or not she or he has influenced you and how. Of course, then you gotta talk about a friend, and we met here and there at school, and then we became friends, and we made friends, and then why you think that person is important to you. Again, in topic friendship, we talk about this whole thing. So we do have the topic friendship as well. Discussion, what are the differences between adults and children in terms of making friends? Of course, children find it easier to make friends. and easier to break up, say goodbye. On the other hand, it takes adults. Adults usually consider lots of different factors. They think about lots of different things when they make friends, and they only have a few close friends usually, and they have different criteria. And can adults make friends with children? You should answer this. Can adults make friends with children? Of course, but the kind of friendship differs, right? It's not the sort of friendship adults make with adults, right? What do you think are the most important factors when making friends? You may want to talk about honesty, helpfulness, things like that. So, again, in the topic friendship, we discuss all this. What are the possible factors that cause the breakup of friendship? Cheating, number one. Dishonesty, unfaithfulness, cheating. Why is it difficult for adults to make friends? Because as we grow older, we learn more about ourselves and our personality and character. It's the process we call individuation. As individuals, grown-up individuals, we have special characters and characteristics. And we would like to make friends with a person who either matches our characters or a person that we can get along with and we enjoy spending time with. And our time is limited, so we become choosier and choosier, very choosy. Why is it difficult for adults to make friends? What will the friendship become like when getting old? What will the friendship become like when getting old? That's a good question. Describe a person whom you like to work or study with. Also, so number 3, you can describe a person whom you like to work or study with. Who do you like to study or work with? We have a unit on character and moods when we describe different characters. Some people are mean, some people are good, some people are friendly, some people are unfriendly, helpful, unhelpful, loyal, disloyal, faithful, reliable, unreliable, people who are trustworthy. So you may have different. So who is he or she? What did you work or study together? What do you often do together? Why do you like to work with him or her? What can you learn from him or her? Why is he or she particular? Why is he or she? I would say special, not particular. The word should be special. Discussion. Do you like to work alone or with a partner? This is after you say why you. For example, I would say Yuko because she's very helpful and she's very smart and I learn a lot from working with her, and we work on school projects and this and that, so I go on. But then again, there are some more in-depth questions which are follow-ups to the discussion, what the 3-4 questions we had. Do you like to work alone or with a partner? Yuko, alone or with a partner?
Alone.
Alone? What do you think of teamwork and team spirit? It sucks, right? So what do you think of teamwork and team spirit?
Teamwork is okay. Okay.
But you prefer to work alone. I'll get back to you right after this. We want to discuss this. So what kind of people are good to work with? Do you like group work or group learning? Do you like group learning? I mean, like learning together within a group? Or group work? What is your opinion on efficiency? So efficiency is when you can do something faster and quicker and with the minimum resources available. What are the advantages of studying by yourself? Studying by yourself. What are the advantages? And what do you think of efficiency? Well, that was a question. Describing places. Describe a restaurant or a cafe. You should say where it is, what it looks like, what kind of services are provided, what kind of food do you like there, what kind of food is famous, and why you like it. You can describe it. So it could be a restaurant or a cafe. Describe your favorite restaurant, and why do you go there? Who do you usually go there with? What is your favorite dish or or food or item in a cafeteria. Discussion. Do you like cooking? This is about cooking and stuff, so we do have also the topic cooking. So, will you cook for your friends when they visit you? Who cooks in a Chinese family? It's interesting. What do you think of advantages and disadvantages of fast food? That's a good question. What are the advantages and disadvantages of fast food? It makes you fat, is oily, not healthy, right? But the advantages are it's fast, like its name, and quick, and doesn't cost much. So it doesn't cost much and it's fast, quick. Why is fast food so popular? Maybe because of these reasons, and plus the fact that there's a lot of advertising and a lot of commercials, and also that usually unhealthy foods taste good. Where would I don't want this question, so where do you usually go to eat out? What changes would take place in terms of Chinese eating habits? It could be about anyone's eating habits. Maybe that's the point, because we should. What kind of food is popular in your country? What's the difference between fresh food and canned food? Food that has been canned, it's in the cans. What can we do to solve the problem of food shortage? Do you think food shortage is a reality of the future? And what can be done to solve this problem? What are the advantages and disadvantages of family food? Now, describe an interesting building. You should say where it is located, what it looks like, and what services are provided, and how you like that building. Okay, discussion would be, what role do old buildings and new buildings play in modern society? What changes have taken place in architecture in the past 2 decades? Do you think it necessary to protect old buildings? You know that here in Toronto, well, certain buildings are treated as heritage buildings and heritage sites, so people cannot touch them or change them. Describing media and communication. Could be media and communication. Now we do have also the topic media. Describe what kind of book you like. You should say what kind of books you like most, what they're about, what you like them most, why you like them most, and what effect have books brought on you. So when we're talking about books, again, we have books on literature. That's a topic that we have. But then when we have a book, you talk about the plot of the book, the story of the book, the characters, the plot, which is a story, and you can say they broaden your mind and they can add to your knowledge, or the kind of book that you like. If it's a fiction, it's different, takes you away from the world of reality and takes you away from your problems for a while and helps the power of the imagination, because you get to imagine things and your creativity, so on and so forth. So the discussion is, what is the difference between men and women when choosing what to read? Is there a difference? What kind of books do children like? Why do they like reading? What is the difference between reading and watching TV? They could also ask you a question about reading books to children, how effective they are, and why should parents read books to children. What is the difference between reading and watching TV? What is the relationship between reading and computer? And computers, what are the advantages of reading books? Why do children like pictorials? And what books are popular in your country? Now here it says China, but in your country. Everywhere, every time you see China, it should be your country. Describe one of your favorite books. You should say, what kind of books you like, what is your favorite book, what it is about, when did you get it, and why you like it. The discussions about books, of course, do you like other books, what kind of books do people in your country read, and it's children, and what kind of books do you recommend to others. describe a letter, you should say where when you received it, who sent it to you, what is it about, and whether it's important to you. Yeah, well, they might ask you about a letter, whether or not you've received a letter. They might ask you about emails. Have you ever, when did you last email somebody? Have you ever received an email that made you very happy or you had special feelings about? These are actual questions that they ask. So what's the difference between a letter and an email? Between a letter and an email, between letters and emails, do you often keep diaries? Do you have a diary? Do you keep a diary? Do you write every day? Do you write the things that happen to you? What is the difference between diary and a letter? Well, they would never ask you this. So what is the difference? It's talking about communications in the past and present. What's the difference between old and new ways of communication? Of course, in the old days we used to write letters. Now we use emails and computer-based communication. What is the role of letter 50 years ago in the present? So it's good to compare the role of letter 50 years ago and the present. It's good to know 50 years ago letters were really important. What role does computers play in our society? Does the computer play, or do computers play in our society? What changes have been brought by the computer? And what is the professor's attitude, which is totally... Now it's about music. Whether you like music, what kind of music you like best. It could be about music. What role music plays in people's lives. It could also go on to ask you other questions. How long do you listen to music every day? Why is it easier for children to learn playing a musical instrument? Is it really easier for children to learn playing the musical instruments? And why? What are the benefits of learning to play musical instruments? Discuss the impact of Western music on the world music. The impact of Western music on world music. That's huge. The impact is colossal. So, describe a traditional festival in your country, not just China. In your country. So, a traditional festival. You should say what it is. What is that festival in your country? When is it celebrated? How is it celebrated? How is it celebrated? What do you usually do on that day? And what you like and you don't like, well, regarding that subject. Of course, this is about the concept of holiday in your country, not in China. In your country. They might ask you about what are the most important holidays in Japan, for example, or in your country. Then you'll have to talk about the New Year, for example, Osechi, and all that, right? Why is holiday so important to modern people? Do you think it is necessary to observe the traditional customs? What changes in terms of spending festivals and holidays have taken place in the past decade? So do you think it is necessary to observe traditional customs? Do you think so, Yuko?
Yes.
So why? And what is the difference? What changes in terms of spending festivals and holidays? What is the difference as regards celebration in different parts of the country? In different parts of your country, how do people celebrate? What are different feasts like? What are different celebrations and ceremonies like in your country? Traditions and customs and all that. Describe a perfect trip or holiday. That's another question. They might ask you about a trip or holiday, maybe a recent one. Where did you go? When did you go? Who did you go there with, or whom did you go there with? What did you do there? Or if it's in the future, where do you want to go? When would you go? Who with? And what are you going to do? So, and then there's going to be discussion. What is the difference in the past and present as regards traveling? Of course, traveling has changed over time. Means of transportation, means of traveling have changed. People used to travel using different means than today. How would the tourist industry develop in the future? What do you think of the tourist industry for the future? What should the government do to attract tourists? And what should the people do to attract tourists? Well, of course, then you should talk about the tourist sites and, of course, sightseeing and all that, and whether or not governments should keep those tourist sites clean and perhaps encourage tourism by promoting those tourist places and all that using advertisement and advertising. And also make sure that the tourists, when they travel, they feel comfortable and they return. So again, these are, and there's a lot more to it. It's just right now we're talking about the types of questions. So tourists as well. An interesting trip you have taken. Where did you go? When did you go? Who did you go with? And stuff, which is quite similar to the previous one. What is the difference between the past and present in regards to traveling? How would the tourist industry develop in the future? What should the government do to attract tourists, and what should the people do to attract tourists? So people should be nice and friendly, and so on and so forth. An interesting hobby. They might ask you about your hobbies. What is your hobby? How long you spend on that hobby? Every day, like 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. How often do you do it? And why do you like it? Well, in my case, playing the piano. In your case, it could be something else. And I play the piano every night, a couple of hours, an hour or so. Some nights I can't because I'm so tired, but try to do it, also, especially weekends, more. So do you think that surfing the internet, watching TV, listening to music, or keeping a pet are interesting hobbies? It could be surfing the internet, watching TV, listening to music, keeping a pet. Do you think it will cost too much time to do them? Do you like hobbies requiring teamwork? And what do people usually do in their spare time? What do people usually do? Why do people, so what, not why. What do people usually do in their spare time? Describe an environmental problem. You should say, talk about the environmental problem. What is that environmental problem? How long it has existed? What effect it has brought to people's lives? And what we can do to solve that environmental problem. So there is an environmental problem. You say, what is that environmental problem? For example, global warming, but or CO2 or the carbon dioxide or other gases that are greenhouse gases, air pollution, water pollution, nuclear reactors could pose a threat. So what causes environmental problems? Air pollution, water pollution, greenhouse gases, which also cause global warming, and in turn so many different environmental problems. We have also oil spills. So we do have also the topic environment. So when we talk about the topic environment, so the reason why I'm showing you all this is because I want you to know why we're doing the topics. So when we work on, for example, the topic jobs and employment or education, we try to address all these questions and a lot more in every topic. So when we deal with the topic environment, we try to deal with all possible questions that might be asked when it comes to the topic environment. And right now that we're talking about universe, we will be talking about all those questions regarding universe and the weather and so on and so forth. So what should we do to protect the environment? How should we educate our children to protect the environment? The environment. What's the difference between the old and the young as regards environmental protection? Well, environmental protection was not the word of the day in the old days because there were not as many factories and as many cars and as many And even if there were, since the Industrial Revolution, right now we're looking at the consequences of what the older generations also did, because that time maybe it wasn't tangible, they couldn't feel it. But right now the global warming is real, and over the past 20 years we've had 15 of the Earth's warmest years during the past 20 years, the warmest years on record. So describe a kind of extreme weather. We talked about extreme. Remember today, extreme weather? Like blizzard. What is it? When did it happen? Where were you? And how you felt at the time. Like last year in Canada, there was freezing rain, and there were power outages. So you can talk about storms, and you can talk about a tsunami. It wasn't the weather though. It was but you can talk about cyclones, typhoons, hurricanes, storms, and the things that happen like blizzards. What should you do in bad weather? Will bad weather mold or change people's personality? Maybe. Some people believe that people who are all the time in cloudy situations, like in London for example, they are never happy. They don't smile as much as they should because they're usually depressed. Some people believe that bad weather depresses you, has a depressing effect. What is the relationship between the weather and culture? Again, this builds into something that moves on for years maybe and may actually turn into a cultural thing. The climate has changed these 50 years. Have you noticed the changes? Have you noticed changes in the climate the past 50 years? Global warming, yes, is real and is coming. What changes do you predict? So weather could be important. I mean, because if it rains a lot in a place, if it's in hot places, it could somehow change the culture. In cold places, people usually, like in Moscow and places like that, people drink a lot, and they usually they engage in indoor activities. So indoor activities are different from outdoor activities. In places where the weather is so hot, people are outside. Usually spend a lot of time together out there, and it changes the way you dress. It changes the way you behave. Well, it does have its impact on culture as well. So in the long run. So what changes do you predict in the following years? I would say the globe is getting warmer and warmer. And are the people interested in gathering weather information in your place? In Canada, yes. Every day you have to check the weather. How does weather influence people's personalities in your country? Well, you can talk about your own country and how the weather influences their personality. Talking about learning English, of course, that's one of the things they might ask you. When and where did you begin studying English? What is the most interesting thing in an English class? What is the most effective way of learning English? Ray's way. What difficulties do you have when learning English? I don't understand my teacher. And what he's doing. So what are the advantages of learning English? Of course, you can communicate with people around the world and make friends, and also when it comes to business, university and college, and so work and study, it's very useful. And trips and vacation. Discussion: what problems do you have when studying English? Do you think that English is the most important language in the world? Can English take the place of Chinese in China? What other languages are taught in? Well, here is China. You can say your country. In your country. So English is a second language and also a foreign language. So do you think that age is the most important factor of learning English, and why? What difficulties would a foreigner have when he learns your native language? And what problems would Chinese people have when communicating with foreigners, or what problem do if you're from Japan or any other country, what problems do you have when communicating with foreigners? When would be the most suitable for children to learn English? When? At what age is best to learn foreign languages? How will translation and interpretation develop in the future? You know that translation is already done by Google, so we have Google Translation and Google Translator. I'm not really sure if it could ever be very exact, but it will become better and better. Describe different ways of getting news. This is about news and journalism. You should say whether you get news every day, whether the news is national or international, how you get news via newspaper, TV, internet, radio, or other people, and how do most people in your country think about the importance of getting update news every day. Of getting news updates or updated news every day. So this was about news and discussion about news. Do you think the information on the internet is believable or not? So what is the most effective way of getting news? How do reporters gather information? What do you think of the importance of privacy? And how do journalists entertain their customers? What role do media play in people's life? How do the people in your country gather information? What are the advantages and disadvantages of different media? Do you think it's necessary to control the news coverage? And what kind of news do you think should be controlled? So this is all about news and media. And the next question could be about a skill that you want to learn. Oh, it's good. Interesting. So what skill? Is there a skill you would like to learn? Maybe computers, maybe art, maybe... What is it? Do you think it's important? And how are you going to learn it? And what role will it play in your future? What do you think of traditional skills? What skill do you think the university has provided for your job? What skills can you learn in school? What kind of skills have your parents learned? What do you think of the role of family for children to learn skills? What is the most popular skill that people want to learn in your country? What kind of school would you send your children to and why? And what are the advantages and disadvantages of school education and family education? So it's, yeah, it could be some other, we have other topics. It could be about a special gift that you got. Who sent it to you? What is the gift? What is it for? When did you receive it? Why is it important to you? And it could be, well, about buildings. What is interesting buildings in your country? Architecture. And then these are some sample answers. About friends and friendship, we talked about it. So as you see, festivals in your country, it could be about carnivals and festivals. It could be about traveling. So it could be about any of the major topics that we have discussed and we do discuss. Transportation is a major topic for IELTS. Music is a major topic. So we actually, what we do is we cover all the topics. Look, I want to go to the topics once again, playlist. So, and I want to tell you why we actually do this. So I'm trying to make this look larger. So here, as you can see, for example, this is IELTS Speaking, news vocabulary. But let's take a look at the topics. What is popular uploads? Playlists. I didn't make this playlist. But anyway, not grammar, presentation, no. Jobs, for example, employment, education, numbers and basic math, hobbies and interests, technology, houses and housing, transportation and driving, food, cooking, fruits, vegetables and drinks, religion, music, sports, creation, animals, plants and minerals, multiculturalism and stereotypes, stages of life from birth to death, very important topic, 20 videos here, the universe, the earth, the weather, the environment, war, government and politics, travel and tourism, money, business and banking, crime and punishment, drug and alcohol abuse, death and afterlife, friendship, love and marriage, character, moods and feelings, fashion and clothes, appearance, health and disease, human body, both outside and inside, and entertainment, movies, cinema, internet, compare and contrast is important, and of course jobs and education, we talked about it. So basically that's why we're covering all these topics, and every single topic that we cover, there's a part that has certain questions in it. For example, if we talk about education, so there's a part when we talk about the education questions. So these are the questions. When we talk about these questions, these are...
So let's go through this list of questions about education, like real quick. Now, where did you go to kindergarten? Of course, very easy. Now, the one thing I want you to remember, though, is that this is exactly the way we ask the question. Where did you go to kindergarten? Now, if you wanted to ask the same question, which is very simple in English, what would you say? You would say, what was the name of your kindergarten or something like...
Okay. So that's why we're doing all this.